Cumberland traffic, Codepoint 4041 uniform, departing 1 left right and 10.
In the early morning there was a cloud coverage, but the day got better and better, and I remember the last 150 kilometers, it was pure joy. It was flying below cloud streets.
This is Soaring the Sky, a glider pilot's podcast, coming to you from the Mid-Atlantic region here in the United States and bringing you great soaring content from glider pilots all over the globe. We now join Chuck and our guest pilot.
Welcome back to the podcast. I hope most of you are on your way to the glider port or planning to fly very soon and hopefully taking advantage of some better soaring weather. Today we'll be talking with glider pilot and airline captain Rudi Schlesinger in Austria. Rudi started flying gliders in 1998, and he later flew competitions including the Austrian Junior Nationals in 2002, Junior Worlds in Slovakia in 2003, and later that year he was invited to a training camp with Geaorge Lee in Austria. Now, of course, we interviewed Geaorge Lee on episode 85, for those of you that want to check that out. And that one is titled Soaring with Prince Charles. Rudi flew his first 1,000K flight in 2010. He was Austrian National Champion in 2012. He had 2 world records in the 13.5 meter class in 2020. I really enjoyed my chat with him, and I'm excited to share it with you. He has some crazy stories, like the time he flew around the tower at Vienna International Airport in his glider. Stick around after our chat with Rudi. We do have another new segment from our friend Sergio, the Soaring Master, as he talks about cross-country checks. So let's launch episode 116 now on Soaring the Sky. Rudi, so happy to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to Soaring the Sky.
Hello, Chuck. Thank you very much. I'm very happy about the invitation.
I'm excited to talk to you. I've seen so much of your stuff on social media. But before we get into all that glider stuff, maybe start off with, how did you get into aviation? I mean, fast forward to what you do for your day job, and then maybe we can circle back into the glider stuff.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my interest in aviation is since I was a little boy. I was interested in aviation since a lot of years, and so really to get into aviation at the age of 14, you can choose in Austria between different type of schools you want to attend with that age, and there are different schools with different focuses, for example economical stuff and technical stuff, and there is only one school for aeronautical engineering, and I thought, well, I have to go there. And it was not that easy because it's quite far away from my hometown. And at the age of 14, I had to join a boarding school and was coming back to my parents only on the weekends. But it was not a problem for me because my interest in aviation was that great. So that I made this and went there. Yeah, after being back in Linz, where my hometown is, I started to go to university, started my studies there, and in parallel, I started with gliding. I was able to gain a lot of hours during my university time, and after some work, I decided to become an airline pilot. So I switched my job at quite an old age, actually. So I was close to the maximum age to enter the airline here in Austria, but I never regretted it. And I would say my profession is being an airline pilot, and the passion is for sure gliding.
So how old were you when you got into flying the airliner then?
So I was 28.
Okay.
About, and my luck was that I've completed my university studies, because otherwise I would have been too old to apply at a job for Austrian Airlines. This is the airline which I'm flying for. It's part of the Lufthansa group. They have those requirements which are quite strict, actually. You start in our airline as a first officer flying short range or medium range aircrafts. Then you get sometimes the chance to switch to long range. And when you get the chance for an upgrade to be an airline captain, you start again with the short and medium range.
Okay.
And this is where I'm presently now. And so I've seen quite a lot of places. I've been 2 years on long range aircrafts and was visiting a lot of countries like the US and Far East. It was really a very interesting time. Probably one of the best times of my life.
Awesome. So let's dig into a little bit of history with sailplanes and gliding. I'm excited about this. Maybe take us back to where it all began, where it evolved, and when did you start getting interested in setting records or racing, all that stuff?
Yeah, I started right after the school. When I was back home in Linz, I joined my club where I'm still flying. And I was quite lucky because a few years after I made my license, the Austrian Aero Club started the junior program, which wasn't before this time. So they launched a program to support young glider pilots. And I was probably at the right time, on the right place. And I could attend a lot of trainings with experienced glider pilots. And they also started competitions for junior pilots like the Austrian Junior Nationals, where I've been attending at the first national competition back in 2002. And they were sending a team to the Junior Worlds, an Austrian junior gliding team to the Junior World Gliding Championships in Slovakia. And I was one of the lucky 4 who was able to participate there. So this is my story, and I continued a bit with competition flying until the time for my family took more and more time for me.
I understand. I have several grandchildren now, so I know what that is, the time involved.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, they're a handful, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. They're awesome.
Yeah. Somebody told me
lots of good times with them.
Somebody told me that being a grandfather is even better than being a father.
It is. I agree.
Okay.
It's totally different. I can't explain it, but it's totally different.
Yeah.
And then you can spoil them and send them back home, right?
Yes, exactly. This is what the guy has told me too.
Oh my! So, what are some things as a glider pilot, and when sitting in an airline cockpit with a non-glider pilot, that you think, all things equal, make you a better overall aviator than, of course, the pilot next to you without any glider background? I mean, surely there must be some aspects like recognition of weather, energy lines, turbulence, wave, or maybe even, of course, the flight simulator if you have a catastrophic bird strike or something and you're basically in a giant glider anyway. Maybe you could talk for a few minutes about that, and what are some of the aspects of being an airline pilot that help you with your glider flight?
Yeah, I wouldn't dare to say I'm a better aviator, but there are, as you correctly mentioned, there are some aspects which helps when I'm flying as an airline captain. For example, I would say we are much more trained to recognize how the aircraft moves. So in case of turbulence or thermals, we know, okay, the aircraft is starting to bank, etc. And we are trained as a glider pilots to correct, or as a glider pilot to start circling in a thermal. And switching back to the airline business, if we are flying an approach and the aircraft starts to bank, we are probably a bit faster to react and counteract this banking. So, and of course, weather and turbulence. For example, when you're used to fly waves or the rotors below the waves, the signs to see where those rotors are by means of cumulus fractus clouds. So you get an idea of what's going on with the air mass, because it's the daily business as a glider pilot. And if you're only flying powered aircraft, I think you're not that trained so well in terms of weather.
So where you are in Austria, is it common for you to come across another glider pilot sitting beside you, or that not happen very often?
It doesn't happen that often. We are not such a popular gliding site, I would say. We have a really big advantage. Our airfield is directly on the edge of the city, at the border of the city. I mean, for you, Jack, my hometown has about 200,000 inhabitants, which is probably a small town for the United States. For Austria, it's the third biggest town. And this is a big advantage for the gliding clubs who are located here, because we have a lot of new pilots, student pilots, and you can reach our airfield very easily from the city center. So this is a great place, and I would say it's a bit undervalued in Austria, but of course, for me, it's the best place to do soaring in the world.
Nice.
And I love my airfield. Yeah.
Rudi, I wanted to congratulate you on your YouTube channel. Looks like you're picking up some good following right now. You got some great content.
Yeah, thank you very much for the appreciation, Chuck. Yes, I started with my YouTube channel some time ago, about 1.5 years, something like that. And I try to make videos with the content. I assume that also other glider pilots like it. So I try to explain things, for example, or do an introduction on the wave cam, for example, or just let the viewer participate on my flights. And I'm happy that the audience is growing and growing, and it gets more attention. I'm really happy about that. Unfortunately, making those videos takes a lot of time, as probably every YouTuber knows. And my time is in some ways limited. I would have tons of gigabytes of recorded material still on my hard drives, but the time is missing to convert it into a YouTube video. But I try to upload more or less regularly.
Well, there's some good stuff there, and we appreciate it. The YouTube is starting to light up with a lot of different glider pilots, and it's exciting to see that, making people more aware of the sport.
Yeah.
Wings and Wheels has been serving the soaring and sport aviation community for over 30 years. They, hands down, have the largest and most comprehensive inventory of sailplane and soaring supplies in North America, and they ship globally. Nearly everything you'll find on their site is in stock and ready for same-day shipping. Wings and Wheels is the exclusive American representative for HPH sailplanes. Be sure to check out the Twin Shark, their latest launch. They're also now the exclusive distributor in North America for the new Just Soaring Glider Sim Pro. The team has thousands of hours of flying experience in gliders and airplanes. Staffed by Adam, Kelly, Julie, and Sean. A friendly voice will answer when you call or email them. Check them out at wingsandwheels.com. So if we could talk about some record flights you did, maybe talk about the 13.5 meter out and return record you set in 2020. And looking at the end of the video, you looked pretty excited. And given the weather that day, it must have felt even sweeter to actually bag that record.
Yeah, it was a great day. Setting a record was a dream. It was a goal for me in the 13.5 meter class. And when I finally flew that, the day started not very, very good. It was quite weak in the morning. Even in the early morning, there was a cloud coverage. But the day got better and better. And I remember the last 150 kilometers, it was pure joy. It was flying below cloud streets. And it was really great, besides of the very last 30 kilometers where everything was getting blue and hardly a thermal to find.
Oh, man.
And it was then a challenge at the end. Yeah, but it was great, and it was even more nicer to see that everything worked out, because flying the performance is only one part in setting a record. The other part, which is the same important like the gliding performance, is all the doing the bureaucratic stuff right. So I would have made a quite similar flight 2 years before that date, but I simply made a mistake in the declaration, and so it was no world record.
Maybe if we could pick one other record or badge flight that stands out for you and share with us about that day and why it sticks with you.
I remember a flight for the Baron Hilton Cup. The Baron Hilton Cup has a very special place in my heart, I have to say. I remember when I first heard about the Baron Hilton Cup, it was during a presentation of 2 Austrian guys who were invited to the winners camp, and they were making a presentation in my hometown about the winners camp. And it was when I just got the license, I would say some month or a few years back. And I remember I was so stunned when joining this presentation, and afterwards I remember I walked out of the room, and I only couldn't think about this presentation and about the Baron Hilton Cup. And I put all my efforts together in the next upcoming years. Then I tried to learn as much as I can, everything about the routes. You had to fly an FIA triangle, for example, and get to know the areas, the routes, etc., etc. And it was really a big goal to win the Baron Hilton Cup and get invited. And in 2006, I completed an 800 kilometers triangle, and I got the third place. But due to several other rules, there was a slight chance to be invited to the winners camp. It didn't work out. And 2 years later, and now back to your question, Jacques, 2 years later, I had an awesome flight. It was really more than 11 and a half hours.
Oh, wow.
And I completed the triangle, but I did not get the altitude restriction, because you maximum allowed an altitude difference of between crossing the start and the finish line of maximum 1,000 meters, and I had 1,400 meters.
Oh,
so it did not count, and it would have been the best flight in this period. And shortly afterwards, Baron Hilton ended this cup, and I was really, really saddened. Of course, a long time I was thinking about what went wrong and why it went wrong, and maybe you know it, when something happens, you're questioning why did it go like this. And I probably have an answer to that. It's maybe after that competition period, the winners camp would have been in the beginning of June, and this is exactly the date where I first became a father.
Oh, wow.
So maybe somebody up there said, don't win the cup, stay at home, it's better for you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I was quite saddened to hear that Mr. Hilton passed away some years ago, but I've read all the stories from Google Earth. I know the flying avalanche in Nevada and stuff, so it will always be a special place in my heart, this Baron Hilton Cup.
Absolutely. There are some great stories, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, jumping halfway around the globe here for a bit, during our pre-interview, you had mentioned that you had the opportunity to fly gliders in several other countries, and that stuck with me with Israel and especially Japan, a place a lot of glider pilots don't associate with gliding. Kind of like when our producer Mitch told me that they sold a glider simulator down in Indonesia, and it turns out that they have a decent community of glider pilots, which we thought is kind of crazy, but also pretty cool. Just in as much detail maybe as you want, both of these places, I think community interest is super high. on these, off the grid places.
Yeah. So I want to start with somewhere else. I have a hobby besides my job. It's to visit gliding sites on stays during my professional job.
Nice.
So I started with we have got a stay in Copenhagen, for example, Denmark, and I thought to myself, what would I love to do most? And of course, it was gliding. Then later, I found an advertisement on the main portal, and I saw that this glider pilot was flying from Copenhagen, and I wrote to him, "Hi, my name is Rudi. I'm enthusiastic glider pilot. Sorry to say, I'm completely not interested in your glider, but I'm interested to know about where you fly." And the next time I was there, he took me to his gliding site, and we had a great flight in his two discos. And I try to visit as much glider sites in the world as possible, and this made me come to Japan and Israel. It was let's start with Japan. It was not easy because I made a research on Google, and if you type in gliding in Japan,
right,
you get, I think, only one website which is in English.
Oh, wow.
As I don't understand the Japanese writing signs. So I wrote to them and said, well, look, can I come over? And they replied, yeah, it's not a problem, but they only fly on weekends and Japanese holidays.
Oh, wow.
And we had most of the time only short stays where I couldn't go there. So I had to get a rotation with my airline job that allows me, which was long enough, and which had the free time on a Japanese holiday or on a weekend. And finally I managed that, and I remember quite vividly. You have to imagine you go there. The time difference is about 9 hours. You have almost no sleep, and you have a lot of jet lag.
Oh.
And further on, it's not like that you get a rental car and go there, because they drive on the other side than we do here in Europe. So I forgot about that, and I just checked the public transport, which is quite good in Japan, and it's 3 hours one way.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I got up, I moved the curtain aside, and I thought, oh my God, it was foggy outside. Yeah, the weather was really bad. And I thought to myself, should I really go there? I mean, am I that stupid? And but I thought then, I've come so up to this point. Now I'm going there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how the weather turns out. And while going there, the weather improved. And I arrived at the gliding site. They were all very welcoming me, and they were waiting for me. And then I had a short flight in a twin steer. Unfortunately, there weren't any thermals, but it was great to see from up there the skyline of Tokyo and so on. It was really, really a great experience, and I wouldn't want to miss that out. Actually, the airfield is quite similar to those in Europe. It's quite green there everywhere. All the gliders are mostly German type of aircraft, so from the known manufacturers. Yeah, what I appreciate around the globe is the connection between aviators.
Yep.
I went there, everybody was friendly and said, hey, welcome, and it's really a great experience, no matter where you are.
I presume that, but that was my next question. I was going to ask you if it was like a family, like it is everywhere I've run into when it comes to aviation. But that's awesome that it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, if you for example, if you're selling or buying an item or an aircraft, there almost never occurred any disappointment. When you are selling some stuff on the internet, some write to you, oh yeah, take it, no problem, and then you do not hear anything anymore from them. And there is a special quality if you share the same passion. So if they are interested, it has hand and foot, as we say in German. I don't know if if there is such a phrase in English.
Oh, hand and
You
foot.
know,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I got you.
yeah, okay. Yeah, and with Israel it was quite similar. I mean, at that time, my club was looking for a glider, and we were looking for a PIC 20E, so a self-launch able PIC 20. We thought maybe that's the right thing for us. And I saw one on the internet, and I wrote to him and said, we would be interested and stuff. And he replied, oh yeah, you can almost come anytime to Tel Aviv, and I'll pick you up. And then I wrote, yeah, I'm an airline pilot. I'm coming on this Friday.
Nice.
And he said, what? This Friday? We are not ready yet. Yeah, and nevertheless, I visited them because every month in Tel Aviv I visited him. He took me to the airport. It was really an adventure, and I had a look on the glider, and he took me up, or a friend of him took me up again in a twin steer, and it was very, very interesting. So what I figured out is that in Israel there are only 3 airfields where gliding is done. 2 are more to the north of the country, and 1 is to the south, where I was. It's more or less in the desert, and they only can fly on, if I remember correctly, on Fridays and Saturdays.
Oh, really?
Because of course, due to the political situation, and they always have to be in radio contact with the Air Force, of course.
Wow.
So that. But it's great, and there have been done a lot of fantastic flights down there. I remember the OLC once made one of the flights in Israel to the flight of the year, so which was across the Dead Sea and so on. So it's very interesting.
Wow,
very interesting.
Interesting to hear how other glider ports do it all over the world.
Yeah, and by the way, all those adventures were the reason for my channel name on YouTube. It's called Rudi's Guiding Adventures, because I wanted to share those stories, but unfortunately I do not have any videos from those adventures, from those glider flights. So maybe I'm doing a video where I show some of the pictures and underlie it with voice. So
that'd be good. Think that would work?
Yeah, I don't know if the audience would appreciate such, because it's not moving pictures, But I think I want to give it a try and share the story. Maybe the storytelling is also interesting to the audience. We will see for the future.
Absolutely. I think you should go for it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
Rudi, I wanted to talk about your glider, the Silent Electro. I used to think it was only a sustainer, but obviously after seeing the video of you self-launching, it can do that too, which is pretty amazing, especially from the front-mounted propulsion system and propeller. Anyway, how about just take us through your thought process prior to buying this glider, and after having flown it a while now, what do you like about it and what do you less than like? Or maybe what can be done better in the future versions?
Yeah, the decision, the story behind the Silent to Electro is as follows. My club was looking for a plane, as I already mentioned, and in 2015 we came across. We thought about which requirements do we have. It should be a glider which is easy to fly, easy to handle, because we wanted that as many pilots as possible to fly with a new machine. And we thought, well, it's getting more and more popular to use powered gliders, but most of the club members, they do not have the routine to handle a self-launcher. Even with sustainers, it's not that easy. You need some routine, and a lot of glider pilots simply do not have this routine. And so we came across the electric propulsion system. And then the guy said, oh, well, there is the Silent to Electro, and it is even self-launch able. It is capable of doing self-launches with the normal FES system, thanks to its light weight. And yeah, we went there. We made a test flight, and then we decided to buy one. And so this is the story behind the Silent. And then I bought one by myself to go for the goal with the record setting, and I also rented it for interested pilots, so it was able to rent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's quite different actually, flying such a FAS powered glider compared to other ones, but I'm really happy with it. So yeah, of course you need also kind of experience to really get out the last bit of performance or know how to operate it, because it's different to combustion engine driven motor gliders. You need to take some other things into consideration. I tried to explain it in one of my videos, but it's so easy to operate and so reliable, and you can, if you need the engine, you know within 1 second if it's working or not, and you do not lose any altitude.
Aerox, the #1 in portable and engineered aviation oxygen systems, your source for FAA-approved oxygen mask and portable oxygen systems, and now introducing the Aerox Pro 2 Plus Flight Bag portable oxygen system. Small, lightweight, and simple to use, the Pro 2 Plus is perfect for the occasional user who wants the flexibility to access higher altitudes without worry about flying impaired. Now available at Aerox distributors and at aerox.com. So remember, our friends at Aerox, engineered for aviators. Speaking of your videos, there's a recent video that featured your glider. It's a pretty amazing video sequence where you do a 360 around the control tower there at Vienna Airport, and then you do a full stop landing into a parking spot. So can you tell us about the inspiration to do that video and how that unfolded?
Yeah, this is a great story, and it was a long time dream. There were several reasons for this dream. I would say, on the one hand, I wanted to show the audience what you can do with a fast-powered glider, which you normally can't do. I mean, nobody would fly into an international airport with a retractable combustion engine. Nobody would be. Yeah, nobody would do it simply. But one of the main reasons was that every time when Vienna is my home base as an airline captain, every time when I depart on one of the runways, we are passing by the tower, of course, in quite a high altitude. And it was simply a dream that I thought, I want to do once a 360 around the tower, because you can do it. You can fly level. It's no problem. I had this dream in my mind, and then Corona came. The flights, the number of flights broke down everywhere in the world, and I saw this is one of the few positive things of Corona, that I maybe could realize this dream, and I started to working in it. There is a 17-minute video which shows the story, but some points I want to point out by realizing it with this dream. So, I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler now. So everybody who is watching the video afterwards knows already what's coming. But I want to answer your question. The first time I tried to fly there, I was pretty aware that this is a very unusual thing. Somebody's coming there, wants to fly some maneuvers over the airport, and originally there was only a low approach planned, and I tried to make it clear that I'm not a stupid idiot, because somebody's coming and they want to do something, and they probably he's not knowing which procedures there are with IFA traffic and so on. So I called them. I called ATC on the day before, and also some days before the first attempt, stating, look, I'm an airline captain. I know all about the procedures. I know how it's working on this specific airport, as I'm flying there by myself and other stuff. And when I was during the tow, and the tow from the small airfield, which is in the vicinity of Vienna International Airport, and during the tow, they said, no, it's not possible at all. So stay away and do not come into the vicinity of the airport. Man. And I thought, what the heck is going on? Yeah, I mean, I made even this long tow to save energy, to be prepared. I could have do it only with electric power, so to depart on their own power, fly there and go back. But I just wanted to have some reserves in case of there is an IFA departure and I have to hold somewhere, something like this. And then they say, hey, it's not possible. It's simply not possible. I was very, very disappointed. And when coming back, I thought, well, I have two possibilities. So either I'm angry on them the whole rest of my life, or I just simply call them and ask them, hey, what was going on? And I took the second option, and it turned out that I only considered ATC, but in reality, the airport operator has a lot to say on that airport. I didn't think about that, and I called them, and I had a personal chat then with the chief airport operator, more or less. So the chief who is responsible for the airside, and he's a really nice guy, and he explained it to me. Oh, sorry, there was also a bit of a misunderstanding because they simply saw on the screen there is an unusual plane coming, and they were questioning themselves, which type of aircraft is it? Then they had a look on the internet and finding my glider, of course, and not looking that exactly to see that it has a propeller, because it's a white propeller on the white fuselage. And they thought I'm a pure glider, so I would be stuck on their runway. And of course they said, no, that cannot happen at all. And then I explained, yeah, look, I'm not an idiot. I know what I'm doing. And then he said, yeah, okay, sorry, and so on. And in a side sentence, he mentioned that it's the same price when you do a low approach, a touch and go, or a full stop landing.
Huh.
And in the moment he said this, I thought, well, stop. If it's the same price, yeah, and if you have the full amount, doesn't matter if I'm doing a low approach or a full stop landing, then I would like to do a full stop landing, and then I would like to have a parking position next right to an Airbus A320, nice. Which I'm flying in my professional job. And yeah, then so we had a good chat, and then I waited until the weather was fine. I selected a day in the week where they have less traffic than yeah. I mean, in Corona they almost never, they had only a few departures and arrivals, but I selected a day where they had even fewer, and then I selected a time of the day where there really was no IFA traffic, and I think they had one departure, something like this. Yeah, and then I flew there. I wrote to the chief airport operator, the chief of the airport operator, that hey, I would like to do that the next day. And he said, yeah, he's preparing everything. He's sending an email to ATC so that everything is fine. And yeah, the second attempt was what you can now see on the internet. And I'm really happy. It was a once in a lifetime experience, of course.
It was awesome. You know, I was watching it and I was like, wait a minute. How did this happen? I see your glider and I see this jet sitting there. I'm like, what? This doesn't make sense to me. I got to hear about this. It was awesome.
Yeah, I need to make part 2 also because some friends are asking me, yeah, and how did you manage to get away from this airport? I said, well, this was the reason for the tow. I landed with almost full capacity. I just departed on my own and flew back, and that was it. Yeah, and
nice.
And there are a lot of pictures where I'm taxiing. Yeah, with the airliners on the left and right hand side, and I want to put it all together in another video once.
There had to have been some people looking at that the same way I did. Like, what? What's going on here? Oh, that's good stuff. I wanted to stick with your videos just for a few minutes here. We noticed that you had a near miss with a general aviation aircraft somewhere there in Europe. Can you talk to us about that experience and whether that is related to another video you have of a new canopy flasher system you installed on your glider? And while you're at it, how about speak a few minutes about this pretty new tech that is just now starting to find some adoption in the community?
Yeah. So I had this near miss, which you mentioned, and it was luck. I mean, it was luck that it was only a near miss, but it was also a luck that I had the camera running. I prepared the video about the Hawk variometer, and I switched it on really 10 seconds before I had this near miss. You can see my finger on the variometer showing some explanations on the variometer, and then the flame suddenly began to issue this important alarm. And first of all, I didn't see the other traffic, so I thought, what can I do? And I thought to myself, just bank to the right, make yourself visible by making the silhouette bigger and so on. And then I saw it finally.
Wow.
And I saw that he's passing by. But this was really an experience. I haven't had it in the previous 20 years of gliding.
Wow.
And this is always a risk, and we have to reconsider that this can happen anytime, basically. I firstly published it on YouTube Shorts, and it went pretty viral. But there were a lot of people commenting not only good things. They said, "Oh yeah, what's about ADS-B? There is no ADS-B, and there is no common frequency in Europe," which they don't know, and I've given up to comment all these comments. But I thought to myself, it's important. And then this canopy flasher is becoming more and more popular, and I thought I combine those two things. So the reason on the one hand side, and I think it would have made a difference. So I think it's a pretty good new technology, and it improves the visibility of our small silhouettes, especially when you are flying in the snow-covered mountains. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and this is why I've put it in the beginning of the how to install the canopy flasher.
Absolutely.
Video.
Rudi, sticking with safety theme for a little bit, and this time something other than the visibility. How about pick one topic or theme that you think would benefit pilots in the gliding community when it comes to soaring safety, whether from personal experience or reading accident reports or watching YouTubes or even events or situations from your local club? Maybe just spend a few minutes and talk about safety here.
Yeah, I think a big difference between soaring and commercial airline operations is the checklist work. In the airline operations, you have always the same procedure every flight. So it doesn't matter if you are doing 4 flights a day, you always stick to the standard operating procedure, no matter which airport, no matter which time of the day or anything, or how often you have been already flying with your first officer. And there is the Segelfliegen magazine, so the Soaring magazine, a German-speaking magazine, which is picking up this topic. And I think it's really important that we can learn from the commercial airline industry. For example, I have thought a long time if I should mention it or not. There is a saying in German, yeah. There are 2 different type of glider pilots, yeah. One part of the glider pilots, they have already landed without a gear, and the other part, it lies ahead of them, you know. And this is exactly what I mean. So you hardly never hear that a commercial jet airplane forgot to extend the gear before landing. Yeah,
Right.
But there have been a lot of situations and pilots in the gliding community. And now I'm coming to the point, it even happened to me. Yeah, I long thought about it if I should mention it, because as also Bruno Wassler and Stefan Langer told, you don't want to put on social media things you happened. Yeah, it's not a human behavior. Always you want to be normally on social media the good one, but those things happen, and those things can be avoided, and quite easily, by sticking to checklists, like commercial aviation is doing it since more than 50 years. And I think it's an important thing that we implement in our way also such checklist work.
Absolutely. They're there for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in the Segelfliegen magazine, 2 commercial airline pilots, they wrote these articles, and it's now a series. And I hope we all can learn from that.
Just Soaring, the makers of the Glider Sim Pro sailplane simulator cockpit, would like to congratulate German pilot Ben Fest for his recent victory in the first ever FAI-sanctioned aviation esports event in history, the Sailplane World Grand Prix, which Ben won after several days of exciting competition against some of the top Condor soaring pilots from around the world. If you are looking for a best-in-class dedicated sailplane simulator cockpit for Condor or Microsoft Flight Sim, look no further than the Just Soaring Glider Sim Pro. Check them out at justsoaring.com or at just.soaring on Instagram. Rudi, staying on the safety, have you ever trained in glider aerobatics? And what are your thoughts about glider pilots investing time and money in advanced spin training, inverted flying, and all that stuff?
I think it's interesting, and I think it's a good thing, basically. I remember, normally a glider does not have a stall warning, right? And I was always trained from the beginning. You kind of hear your speed in a glider, and if this noise from the airspeed is getting too low, then be alarmed. Yeah, you run out of you can run out of speed. And when I began with my commercial training, we flew Cessna 152s into the spin, and everything in my head was putting an alarm. Oh, you're too low. You're too slow. You're too slow. You're too slow. But actually, I think it's a good training if somebody gets this experience. So to really fly a stall and a spin and learn how to recover it. So basically, I think it's a good thing. But for me personally, I convert the altitude better in gaining distance and flying cross country than doing aerobatics.
Yeah. So what are your goals for 2022, and what do you have upcoming on your calendar?
Goals for 2022, after having realized my dream with this world record, now absolutely number one goal is fly 1,000 kilometers in the flatlands. From our home airfield, we are pretty unusual Austrian pilots, I would say, because most of the Austrian glider pilots, they fly in the mountains, but we fly in the flatlands and also to the Czech Republic and Germany. And nobody has done 1,000 kilometers in the flatlands before from our home airfield, and I'm working on this since a long time. I've made several 900 plus kilometer flights in the past. And actually, the next video will be about one of my latest attempts last year.
Oh, nice.
And so I want to fly 1,000 kilometers in the flatlands, preferably achieving the 1,000K diploma, where you have to fly it via declared waypoints. This would be an extra bonus, of course.
Nice. We're going to keep an eye on that. Let us know.
Yeah, I will do so.
And as always, here we like to give our guest pilots a chance to give a shout out to your flying buddies, mentors, instructors, family, or just about anybody that has been an integral part, of course, of your gliding life.
Yeah, I would say there is not a specific person I want to shout out, but I think about it before our interview. And what is really important to me to mention is that I've participated so much. I've made so much progress by a lot of people, experienced glider pilots or flight instructors, getting to know details and telling me some interesting stuff, who were willing to share their experience. So to make other pilots better. Decades ago, I've heard a long time ago, that in former days the glider pilots they were keeping their knowledge, so not sharing at all, and this has changed completely. So I don't know how it has been could have been done in the past, but I'm so happy to learn so much things from a lot of different people. So I would want to give a shout out to every glider pilot, whether it's a flight instructor or another usual glider pilot, who is willing to share his experience and let other people to participate on it, so other pilots can improve their skills. So this is a really big thing, good thing.
Absolutely. Rudi, are you ready for our lightning round?
Yeah, let's go.
The key lightning. Fast but fun. So if you had to fly at one bank angle other than 0, what would that be?
Yeah, definitely 40 degrees, as I learned from your last episode with Christopher Fleming.
Nice.
He said there is a mathematical calculation that this is the optimum bank angle, and I'm definitely going to try this out this year.
Nice. Not a trick question, but we have literally gotten different answers, even from airline pilots. You can only land out in 2 fields, right? One has a good upslope, but has a 15-knot tailwind. The other has a bit of a downslope, but it's into a 15-knot headwind. All things equal, which do you pick without getting too technical about the question?
From my feeling, I would pick the headwind situation, where I have to accept a little bit of a downslope.
Okay. Money, no object, or okay, let's say you have like $300,000, right? And you could only spend it on a sailplane. What would you buy and why?
I'm pretty excited about the Yonker planes, and they are also available in the electric propulsion version.
Nice.
And I'm really satisfied with electric propulsion. So probably I would pick a J3 RES.
Nice. Okay, other than your own channel on YouTube, whose content are you watching or appreciating the most lately?
From my experience, I'm a lot watching the Pure Glide channel, but also Stefan Langer, of course, and Bruno Wastel, as well as Juliet Sierra, and now new also Chess in the Air, where I learned that the guy is Austrian, actually.
Yeah.
I had a look on his homepage, and I found it really interesting.
Regardless of what you have in your glider, what do you think the overall best flight computer on the market is right now?
Hard to say, as I only know the instruments which I have. I would say the most popular one is for sure LXNAV.
If you only had 7 days left to live, and God said you could only stay alive if you went soaring every day, and you could pick any place you wanted to go, where would you want to go?
That's not so easy. I would need I would need a place where I can fly, where the weather is right for 7 days in a row.
Right.
But but there is a place, and I heard about it when I was at Geaorge Lee's training camp back in 2003. There is this magical place in Australia called Burketown, which is a very small city, and you know the city only when you know about the morning glory rolling cloud phenomena, where these roll clouds are coming in. As far as I know, it's the only place where you can soar those morning glory roll clouds, and this is really one of my long-term dreams to fly once at Burketown and try to soar the morning glory roll cloud.
What's your favorite large commercial airport in the world and why?
Also not an easy question. I would concentrate more on European airports. I haven't been, my memories are not that vividly when flying long range. It's already some years ago. But I would say London Heathrow, because normally you have got a westerly approach, and then you have the approach directly over the city, and it's really great. And furthermore, it's always every approach is different because they have the requirements that you should not fly any level flight below 6,000 feet, so to make not too much noise. So you always have to calculate your descent rate and think about where to reduce the speed, where to move the flaps, and together with this great city where you do the approaches, it's really great. And the ATC is really great there.
So what's the most challenging commercial airport you've ever had to land in, and why?
Challenging airport. I have once a situation, we were flying into Funchal, which is on the island of Madeira, which is already known for the winds can be so strong and which they cause a lot of turbulence. And I really had a very scary situation once. And this was the only time when I flew there, but this can be really, really tricky.
Airbus or Boeing?
That's a mean question. Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, I'm flying the A320 now, and I've been flying Boeing 777 in the past, so I know a bit about Boeing and I know a bit about Airbus. And I would say the best plane would be a combination of both. You know, there is some parts of the Airbus philosophy which I really appreciate, but also Boeing has got some really great features. So I don't trust any pilot who is saying, "Oh, it's only Airbus or it's only Boeing." So.
Right. What's the most bizarre or interesting thing you've seen from the cockpit in the airliner?
Good question. Now we're coming back to this approach to Funchal. When we were flying there, we had a wind speed of 75 knots in 2,000 feet.
Oh.
And we went into a negative wind shear.
Mm.
And on the primary flight display of the Airbus 320, you never see, you get the stall speed indicated, but you never see it in flight, except on that day when we went into this negative wind shear and we lost 35 knots indicated airspeed within 60 feet of altitude.
Wow.
And the stall speed was coming really close. And I was a young co-pilot at this time, and it really, it was really scary. I mean, the captain at this time was pilot flying. I was first officer, but it really made me really scary. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really frightening.
So you were exactly halfway over the Pacific in the most remote part away from landouts. You're flying a 777 and one of the engines goes out. Your stress level on a scale of 1 to 10.
Engine failure, I would say a 5, because all of those aircrafts, they are certified for flying a long time with only one engine. This is the requirement before you can cross the ocean. And we are being trained in the simulator with engine failures. Another thing would be if a smoke or fire warning goes on, then the stress level would be even higher, because smoke and fire are the most dangerous things in commercial aviation, and you really have to land somewhere. And I had a quite similar situation once. We were halfway in the Atlantic, so 1,000 nautical miles behind us, the last airport, and 1,000 nautical miles ahead of us, the next airport. And suddenly we got a smoke warning in the cockpit.
Oh.
And this was really a bad situation until it turned out that it was a false situation, but it was in the middle of the night, and I think I don't have to explain more.
Okay, same question, but this time for the glider.
You mean an engine failure over the
ocean? All right. Our longtime sponsor of the show, the Soaring Academy, is engaged in nonprofit outreach work with local area veterans and also with young people for the STEM programs at their top-notch gliderport facility just outside of Los Angeles, nestled near the north side of the San Gabriel Mountains. They also have a fantastic flight school and are continuing to turn out great glider pilots every month. If you like to donate to their nonprofit initiatives or learn more about their flight school, go to soaringacademy.org or check them out on Instagram at Soaring Academy. Best looking or most interesting flight attendant uniforms in the world.
Now I have to be really careful what I'm saying. Because I don't know that many flight attendant uniforms all over the world, but ours are pretty outstanding actually. All our flight attendants are dressed completely in red, like it or not. But if you're running through an airport and looking behind you, if all of your crew is still here, you get an easy overview if you have all of the flight attendants still with you or if somebody's missing.
Right.
A lot of airlines, they have blue uniforms, and blue is quite common. It's a quite common color also for normal people. So you have to take care of flight attendants even more and look for them if they are still here.
What country or two countries in the world have your favorite ATC operators, and which one of two the least favorite? And don't worry, none of them are listening to this podcast, or we don't think anyway.
Yeah, as mentioned before, I really appreciate the controllers while flying into London Heathrow Airport. You have to know that London is really crowded, and there are a lot of airports, not only Heathrow, and they really do a great job and always polite, always helpful, and even if the stress level is quite high, they always have time also to not only to give you instructions, also to say goodbye, something like this. So they are really, really great, and they have to look for all the planes that they are coming in really at the minimum time, because so many planes are flying into Heathrow, for example, and they are really great. But even I've been to Chicago O'Hare Airport with the 777, and they are also great controllers. So I would pick those two.
Okay, takeout food, Chinese or Indian?
Chinese.
Beverage of choice after a record-setting flight: water, beer, scotch, tea, or milk?
I would say first drink a bit of water to get your thirst down, and afterwards beer to enjoy the flight.
Nice.
But don't drink too much beer when you're thirsty, because you're getting drunk quite easily, and then you cannot enjoy your flight.
Right. Name one thing that you think is underrated or overlooked about Austria in terms of a place people want to visit when traveling around Europe.
I would think that most people think on Mozart and classical music and Vienna and Salzburg when think about Vienna, when think about Austria. But our country is small, but it's pretty, and I think we have a lot to see. I would point out nature. We have a lot of mountains where you can do a lot of different sports and enjoy the nature. So I would go with that one.
Well, Rudi, that about wraps it up for us here on Soaring the Sky today. But thank you so much for joining me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great chatting with you, hearing your stories.
Yeah, Chuck, thank you very much for the invitation. I was pretty excited about it, and I'm very happy to join you on the podcast. Going to continue to listen to all of your episodes, of course. And you're really doing a great job. Thank you for that.
We're having a lot of fun doing this, and a lot of great people behind me as well, helping me out and making all this happen. So we're just going to keep going.
Yeah, continue as you do, because it's really great, and it's a regular happening for all glider pilots around the world. And thank you for putting so much effort into this podcast.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Hi everyone, Sergio from Soaring Master here. Today we're going to return to the topic of basic checks every pilot can do before starting a navigation. Many beginner pilots think that going cross-country is an all-or-nothing attempt, kind of hoping that everything will be okay along the route. But there are some ways of probing the soaring conditions of the first leg of the navigation while still within gliding reach of our home field, and taking the decision to proceed to the navigation based on an assessment of the conditions ahead. The first thing after releasing from the tow plane or after the winch launch is to look for tunnels and climb up to the top of lift. During this process, assess what the climb average is, if tunnels are broken or whether they are hard to center, identify the best bank angle, tunneling speed, and thermal radius. Once you have climbed, go to the opposite direction of your first leg up to the gliding cone limit, and once there, head back to the field. This cone crossing is a good navigation probe. Air masses will maintain the same characteristics along a 100 kilometer radius. So just by doing this cone crossing, you'll have a good idea of how convection will be like en route. During the cone crossing, assess thermal spacing and fine-tune your McCready setting, increasing or decreasing it as to reach thermals at the bottom of the energy band and maximize the cruising portion of your thermal flight. And of course, look ahead and identify if the big picture will remain the same for the next few hours or so, or if is there any mechanism that might change everything in the following hours, like the entrance of high cover, storms, or haze. If conditions are satisfactory, you can proceed and depart. If the atmosphere is not like the forecast you saw before taking off, analyze what might be the cause. Delayed heating, inversion, optimistic forecast, and reassess the task. Can it be delayed? Does it need to be shortened, etc.? If the conditions are not good at all, just enjoy a local flight. The important thing is to take the decision of proceeding with the flight based on your certain conditions assessment. With time, the decision to go will become less stressful. By doing these checks, the decision to go will become less stressful and more rational. I wish you all great flights. For more tips, follow me on Instagram @SoaringMaster or check my website, soaringmaster.com.
Thank you, Sergio. Always appreciate your soaring tips and advice here on the podcast. Thank you all for joining us for another episode. And please let your friends know about the podcast and what they are missing. We need you to help us spread the word while helping to grow the soaring community. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and happy soaring.
If you would like to say hi and let us know where you are enjoying the podcast, we would love to hear from you. If you are a glider pilot and want to share your aviation journey, contact us at chuck@soaringthesky.com or send us a message on our website at soaringthesky.com and Chuck will get in touch with you. We hope you join us next time for another soaring adventure here on Soaring the Sky, a Glider Pilots podcast. Soaring the Sky is written and produced by Chuck Fulton, co-producer Mitch Thompson. Original music for the podcast was written and produced by Kim Spangler. Graphic design for the podcast was created by Zachary Fulton. Voiceover work was done by Michelle Perez.